Why would they bring in a new world order? Well, first of all, to protect the environment. And we're going to cover these areas one by one. So let's just get into, they're saying, for example, that we're destroying the environment. Mikhail Gorbachev said that's cornerstone, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But I want to cover this one first, the world, to deal with the world debt situation. Because they're saying we're in trouble nationally. When you see the dollar fall, everybody else's falls, so they got to get their arms around this whole debt situation. They need to alleviate world hunger. They're saying there are many people starving. Well, how many of the bombings have you seen recently where they were used by fertilizer? The one at the Trade Center, the one in Oklahoma. You know why that is? So they can get their arms around the fertilizer. Because if you can take the fertilizer out of the people's hands, you can cut the production of food 50%. Why else would they be paying farmers to not farm? Or not milk their cows, or not doing something else if we have this food problem? They encourage them to till our soils under. People, it's real clear. It's right before us. Everything that I'm telling you isn't something secretive. It's in the news. And they're going to bring about permanent lasting peace. When they say peace and safety, then comes sudden destruction. They think they're going to bring in a globalized peace. They think for a millennium of time they're going to finally get rid of these narrow-minded people that believe God is the only way, that are so narrow in their thinking. They might even stand up before a group and criticize the government. See, if I did this in China, I would be arrested, and probably tomorrow I wouldn't have part of my body organs that would be given to a more politically correct person. It's called sedition. There are many brothers and sisters in China tonight that go to the thing called home churches, and if they're picked up, many times they're killed right on the spot. If they aren't, they're sent to these slave labor camps. So you can see, I talk about the unborn because until I got in this ministry, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything other than criticize Randall Terry and his group. Because, see, I didn't have the courage to go be arrested, possibly, if I had to be, to stand up for the unborn. But when I got these little feet, well, I have my other jacket. I have little feet that I wear on my jacket all the time. But I got them from Dobson. Sorry, I don't have them tonight. But I had these little feet on my jacket today. And I got them through the mail, and I wept for 2 hours. Because God broke my heart. And I hope He breaks your heart. So I asked Him, God, why am I not concerned about my brothers that are in these prison camps? It says when part of the body hurts, the whole body should hurt. I don't really pray for them that much because I don't think of them that much. I'm too busy doing these presentations and other things that I don't have time to think of them. So about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, my son accidentally had the flu and threw up on our bedspread. And I took the bedspread out. Out to the washroom, and I put it in the washer, and it said, Made in China. And God said, you support your brothers. See, they're working in those slave labor camps. They're making these nice comforters for you, David, so you can live comfortably here. That isn't the kind of support I wanted to give. I want to give the kind of support where I get on my knees and pray for them. But I know one thing, if they're in those cold cells tonight, that there's an angel with them and there's a Holy Spirit with them. I know they're comforted as they're together, as they're alone there in that cold cell. I know the Holy Spirit is filling them with a love and a peace and a joy that we could never experience until we find ourselves in that position, because God promises us that. He said He'll give His angels charge over thee, keep thee in all thy ways, lest they dash thy foot against a stone. If we know anything about Rome, when they threw the Christians when they fought the lions, they didn't really fight the lions ripped them to pieces. But when they were being ripped to pieces, they had a glow about them. They had a smile on their face, and people jumped in. They were so convicted. Why is that? Because the Holy Spirit was so near them. I can't explain that to you because I've never been in that condition. But I know if it ever comes, God, the Holy Spirit will be there to comfort me and protect me. See, another thing about Rome, not too many of you might remember, but the Caesar said, all we have to do is give the people a spectacle and a piece of bread. I'm not going to ask how many of you watched the Rose Bowl or the Super Bowl or the NBA playoffs. See, we're so busy watching, entertaining this flesh, that we don't have time for the things of God, for the eternity. They know how to put these spectacles in front of us. They know how to put these stars on this TV, so we waste all our time watching some sporting event, not on our knees praying, not on our knees coming for this battle against the forces of darkness. They're pretty smart. There aren't too many Americans you don't see that are in need of bread either. So they're a lot smarter, a lot more in tune, I think, to the battle in which we're in than the Christians are. I think the Christians are pretty much asleep. So let's go into the first one, a need to deal with the debt situation. I don't know how many of you read this book. It's Bankruptcy 1995 by a man named Harry Figge. Who's Harry Figge? He's J. Peter Grace's co-chairman. J. Peter Grace was commissioned by Ronald Reagan in 1984 to put together this group of men to determine what are we going to do about this budget that's out of line, that's totally out of whack. So J. Peter Grace got Harry Figge as co-chairman. They got 167 of the best businessmen we could ever come up with in the country. They were all CEOs of major corporations. They got $72 million of private funds. They had 2,000 staff members. They went around the world for 18 months. And what they come up with? The Grace Commission. What the Grace Commission say? It says unless we balance our budget by 1991, it's over. Unless that budget you read about every day in the paper, if we don't balance it, we're in trouble. They said back then, these men, unless we balance it by 1991, it's over. Well, in 1991, we spent $400 billion more than we made. We passed a Graham-Rudman bill. Really, Graham-Rudman. Hollings didn't even want his name on it. What happened? Graham just ran for president. You saw him, but Rudman resigned. He's probably still part of the program somewhere on the sidelines. See, these men are deceivers. I'm not saying Redmond is. I don't know who he is. But Satan is a deceiver. They come as angels of light. They get on that TV and they smile a lot and they look great. And they tell you all kinds of things you want to hear that aren't truth. I'll tell you what, if you listen to them long enough, you'll find out that there's some areas of their life that they'll stumble over what they say. They'll say one thing and do another. I'll give you an example, Rush Limbaugh. Guess who Rush Limbaugh's boss is? Phil Donahue. Multimedia Productions. Phil owns the majority stockholder with that company. That's only part of it. When GATT came on the scene, GATT was the most wicked thing to destroy our corporations in the history of America. He wouldn't talk about it. When NAFTA came on the scene, he wouldn't talk about it. If anybody confronts him about this thing called the New World Order conspiracy, as he calls it, it's not a conspiracy. He'll shut you off. So I can guarantee you, people, they'll stumble over their words sometime or another. Watch them long enough. They won't be consistent all the time. So you have to listen. And that's what this is all about, to try to make you aware. I think after you see this, you'll start seeing these things pop out at you. You'll start seeing the things, how we're going to be enslaved by just your daily life. Here's Senator Hank Brown, a Republican from Colorado. He said this before the Senate chambers. He says, I do not believe there's a single member of this chamber, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, who does not think we are heading this country's economy over a cliff. I don't mean unpleasantness. I mean absolutely running this country's economy over a cliff. So they know what's going on, people. I'm not telling you something that they don't hear. You just need to read the congressional records. Rodriguez in the congressional records said we're bankrupt. Trafficant said we're in trouble, we're bankrupt. The congressional records have all this in it. They're talking about it right in the Congress and in the Senate. So don't be surprised. What did Hitler do when he wrote Mein Kampf? He told the Germans he told the people what was going to happen. He wrote it ahead of time, and then he carried it out. When we're in those lines, I promise you, they're going to laugh at you. They're going to mock you. They're going to think you're some kind of fool, because we have been. We've played the fool by not being alert, vigilant, and awake. I believe it's already here. There's a Bank of International Settlements out of Basel, Switzerland. All the central banks report to this bank on a bi-monthly or monthly basis. Our Federal Reserve does, Bank of London, Bundesbank. You can see Germany got there, or Russia got theirs in 1994, their central bank. Our forefathers didn't intend centralized anything. There were two purposes for our federal government. One of them is in case of international warfare to bring the states together against a foreign invader. That was one purpose. Second one was in case to control the tariffs and trades between the states. Well, GATT did away with that. Now GATT is part of the World Trade Organization, a group of unelected bureaucrats.